Welcome to Commander Central, episode 137. Today we're going to discuss the biggest Magic Fest of the year, touching on the venue, games that were played, and any other interactions that may have occurred. I am Chris.
I'm Max.
And I'm Dana.
Ooh, right round in the circle.
I like that.
Woo. So how are you guys feeling?
I'm finally kind of caught back up. Although I just found out Max took the day off work today just to kind of
I
mentally
slept all
rebound.
day long.
Yeah. You got lucky. So I got a question for you, Dana. Seeing how this is just like recent occurrence today. How was your drive over here?
Fine. Traffic was busy, but it was fine. Why?
Okay, so at 2:30, when I was out in my garage cleaning, I heard there was a rollover on the bypass.
Okay, I heard the sirens from it, so I didn't know where it was, but...
So I leave to come over to here, like 10 to 5.
Right.
Plenty of time to get here, no issue. I called Max at like 5 o'clock, saying, I'm going to be late. I hadn't made it maybe a mile from my house, and I was stuck in stop-and-go traffic. I felt like I was in the cities.
Well, I wondered why traffic was... I thought maybe because I usually come here at the same time every day, and it's never, ever that bad. I wonder if they had routed something through. Okay, well, that makes sense then.
Yeah, but 2:30 till 5, and they were still cleaning up a rollover?
Yeah, that was...
Must have been something else that happened, too.
Yeah, it must have been.
So, yeah,
stuff.
I hit that for sure, too. So what did we miss last week when we were gone? Did you hold the fort down for us here?
Yeah. I don't even remember what I did on Thursday, to be honest with you now. I'm trying to think of what we did. I think Connor and I went and played Pokemon Go. I think it's what we did.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
It was we came back, like we left, and it was still summer, and we were gone for a week and came back, and it feels like fall now. Like during that week we were gone, it became autumn.
I don't like it. I don't like it at
I
all.
love it. It's heavenly.
I will say this, though. It was kind of nice to get back to kind of cool weather because, like, I think the only time it was below 110 in Vegas was midnight Sunday night when we were trying to find a burger joint. It was like 108. 108.
And that is exactly what we were doing at midnight on a Sunday.
Oh,
because we closed the place down. We were there
The
was
last people.
They were folding up tables around us.
Yeah,
as we
I
finished
saw
our
you
last
guys'
game.
tweet about that.
Yeah. So
and then my phone proceeded to go off, and I'm going to use this as CCO fashion, so everyone cover your ears, but F both of you, because my Twitter exploded for like the next 3 hours as I'm trying to lay in bed.
I suppose in you're 2 hours different than us, too.
Yeah,
so
I'm like laying there and just bling, bling, bling. I'm like, oh, stop, please.
I mean, your sense of time and the world around you is just no longer in effect when you're there for that long. You just lose track of reality and lose track of clocks and schedules, and it's pretty great.
I'm pretty sure after the third day, I just thought it was always Friday. Like,
it's
always Friday.
It's perpetually, yeah, that makes sense.
So did you guys do any casino stuff while you were there?
Not really.
No.
I didn't gamble anyway. Last year you did, but this year...
Yeah, I did not at all this year.
I
We
had a
walked
few-
through a bunch of them.
I had a few people who went down that I know, and a couple of them played in the main event and then dropped and went over to the casino to go play because they were like, I'm not winning here. I'm going to go try win somewhere else.
Is their luck any better at the casino?
Didn't hear you back yet
Okay,
on that,
right.
so I'm assuming not.
We were on Fremont Street. We stayed at the Golden Nugget for the first couple days before the GP started, and then we moved over to the Westgate. But we didn't do casino stuff. We just, like, chilled in the pool and walked on Fremont and had good food and played games in the room with Henry Stukenborg, who's used to be writer at EDH Rec and an editor, and then Dan Kraus, who's a fan who's been on the Commander Social podcast in the past, goes to a lot of events. Dan was there too, so we played games with him. So we just played games before the whole thing started even, and then once it got in full swing, we were over at the Westgate and we
Played games.
Then we played hard.
Wait, I think I played harder in the hotel room than I did at the GP.
So yeah, it was a good time. Next year
That's
you'll
awesome.
be there.
So I want to inform you guys. You guys both know this gentleman personally. His name's Craig Dybbuk.
Yes.
He came up to me the other day, and I wanted to give him a shout out. He's a truck driver, drives over the road and stuff like that. And he says he listens to us all the time.
Oh, nice.
And he wanted to say thank you for that, so I want to give him a shout out. Thanks for listening. Hopefully this episode's up to par for you because I'm running the show. And
He's on my list of new patrons.
Is he?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, one thing I wish I would have done when we were there, and I saw Joey Schultz doing this, and I kicked myself for not doing it. Whenever Joey would talk to somebody, he'd pull out his little notebook, because he was recording this game too, but he'd write down the person's name just in the back of it and, like, what they said to him. So then later on, when he was, like, on the air or something, he can, like, I met Dave, and I met Randy, and I met, Steve, and we talked about this and that and this. Whereas I, like, just because there was so many people. I forgot everybody that I talked to pretty much.
Yeah.
Well,
So I should have done that next year. I'm going to do that for sure. That was
the one picture I did see of you, Dana, doing a draft or something. You look kind of brain dead. You're sitting there all
man, there was
head in your hand, like, what am I doing?
There were absolutely a couple of those where, like, on my 14th game of the day or something, like my brain was just not functioning anymore. There was one morning, too, where I don't know if it was because I didn't eat much. Because there was also those days, despite us doing a show where we were talking about, like, making sure you get protein and eat and stuff.
We were terrible
There were
at
those
it.
days where, like, we'd get up and go down to the floor to start playing, and the next thing you know, it's like 6 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten in 22 hours. Like, you
just
that
go.
that would happen. Even knowing that you shouldn't do that, we would do that. So there was days when I would wake up and next year I need to work better on that.
Yeah.
So any news you guys want to cover? We can cover the ban and restricted.
We should talk about
We
that briefly.
should.
So where you guys want to start with that? Stoneforge Mystic?
Stoneforge is back.
Yeah, she is.
Hogak, may you rest in peace forever.
That's not a surprise at all. I think everyone, particularly once the results from the modern event, they're sort of trickling through, and it was 5 of the top 8 were Hogak decks.
That's 2 GPs in a row that was won by Hogak deck.
Yeah, so I mean that was, I don't think anyone's shocked.
And the guy who won, I read his right up afterwards, and there's like 5 flex slots in the Hogak deck that you can put different cards in. He put 1 of each card of the flex slot just to prove that Hogak was a broken deck.
Oh, jeez.
Jeez.
Well, I know there was somebody, it wasn't at the GP, but it was a different event. There was a guy who accidentally registered his sideboard as part of the main deck. In some event.
No.
So he had to play the 75-card deck.
Oh, no.
And still, like, 6-0'd.
More stuff in the graveyard.
Right. So, like, well, all right. I mean, is what it is. For EDH, I mean, Hogak wasn't a pricey card. It was like $8 to $10-ish. So it'll drop now because it doesn't. But like it'll drop to 6 or 7. It's still going to be.
I think right now would be the time to hunt foils if you're a foil hunter.
If you want one, snag one. Faithless Looting got hit from Modern as well.
That was never really been a expensive card though.
No.
The foils were fairly like 15-ish, I want to say. And
Okay.
I saw those have dropped. I was looking at most of their prices today. So if you've always wanted your Faithless Looting foil, I guess those have dropped.
Guy on our team, Parker, the young kid, he went and had sent it down with a guy to get them shadow signed. Cost him like $30 to get all 4 shadow signed, and then it got banned.
Oh, ouch.
Oopsie.
Yeah, and so Stoneforge has jumped from like 30 to 60-ish. But like for EDH, if you were playing you were already playing it.
You already had
I
it.
don't think anyone needed that. If you had them sitting around, now's your time to probably get out.
Yep, there was no nothing for EDH.
Yeah.
Although I did watch a thing on Twitch about a gal, I don't remember what her name was. She's walking around asking the EDH community about Cyclonic Rift. And the community is torn whether it should be banned or not. It was like 50-50.
Yeah, I didn't see I mean, if you're playing blue, you're playing it, I guess. I saw enough of them. But
Okay. I can go by those rules.
Because of Stoneforge, Batterskull price jumped. If you have spare, I mean, like we're on a finance podcast, but I will just say, like, if you have these cards lying around, now would be the time to get out. If you have spare Stoneforges you're not using, because none of this stuff is on the reserve list, it can get reprinted. So if you have a set of Stoneforges, now is the time to get rid of them.
And she's such a narrow card in Commander, in my opinion.
Yes, and if you're playing like an artifact deck, or you're playing or equipment deck in particular, if you're playing like Kemba or you're playing Balin or something, you're probably running Stoneforge in the deck.
Yep.
But like you need one, and that's it. So if you've got extra ones, I would get out and get something else that's a more stable investment. Same thing with Batterskull. Same thing probably with swords.
Yeah, those have spiked.
All the swords of X and Y have popped, or most of them have anyway, because of that. So. Yeah, in the next Commander BNR won't be, because Sheldon did post. They don't do a ban and restricted. I guess it's just a ban in Commander. They don't do them every time other formats do. They just do them quarterly. So the next one won't be until
Throne.
So next month.
So I can keep sending him emails in capital letters saying, "Please get rid of Cyclonic Rift and Soul Ring."
No.
Now is your chance. You've got time.
Oh yeah. So for everyone who wants to reach out to us on social media, discuss the ban list, discuss Vegas in general, anything, games. Dana, how would they reach us?
You can find us on the Twitter birds at CMDR Central. You can find us on Gmail at cmdrcentral@gmail.com.
Ooh.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we do have an email.
We do. You can just search us up on Facebook, CMDR Central, and you can find us at cmdrcentral.com.
You forgot the YouTube.
Oh, I
where
did,
you can
I
search us on
did.
CMDR Central. But that's fine. That's mainly just like
It's just the
content.
podcast for
Yep.
now.
Yep.
You can also find us on Patreon by searching CMDR Central, where you can check out our rewards. And if you are so kind and able to support us financially, we greatly appreciate it, and it goes a long way to buying me pants.
It does indeed.
And we have quite a few new patrons to say hello to since we've been gone for a week. So we want to say thank you to Paul Haberman, Craig Dybbuk. Wow, you just said it like 5 minutes ago, and I still screwed it up.
harasses you hard.
messed it up.
Zach Reed, Lenny Woolley Broader, Jordan Ruiz, David, and Armando.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all very much. Is that Lenny, the
Yes, that'd be CCO Lenny.
CCO's friend Lenny? All right. I played probably 3 games with Lenny.
I think I played 1 or 2.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the last day, of course, but
I played the first night when we were in the CCO penthouse after we got booted out of
the new penthouse.
the new
Okay,
penthouse after we got booted out of the room. Did you hear that story, Chris? We'll tell you later.
We'll
I was
tell
gonna
you
say,
later.
I heard something about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to keep up with you guys, but there was so much going on. And I was just like, I need to just set this off to the side.
We'll touch on that later because first I think we also have a Teespring.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah,
What's
Chris.
going on with that?
So, this is a contest that Max and I have had for a
Yes.
while here, just like a little inside thing, and I'm going to make this public because this is how it's going to be set in stone. So, from now until the first of the year, whoever's slogan gets worn the most or sold the most, the other person gets pied in the face.
On video. We will record that. That will
yes.
go on the YouTubes.
Dana will record, and he will have commentary, and I'm really hoping that this works out, and our listeners are going to
Yeah.
love this.
And
I
they
really
buy
think so.
all my shirts.
That's fine.
I'm excited to see this because I'm not part of it other than just participating. So I'm really into this contest. I like it.
I tried convincing you earlier
You
before
did.
we went on
You
air.
did.
Like,
You offered a chance. But I was like, nope. No, thank you. I will just be the arbiter here.
This is why Chris doesn't do show notes, because we get surprises like this.
I was doing all the show notes prep and everything. I'm like, this sounds like a fun idea.
Yeah, I'm into it. I like it.
I'm fine with it, because I'm just going to win.
All right. Ooh.
Yep.
Shots fired. I did.
Ouch.
We did. Did you get our chance to listen to the fill-in show we did, the short one we did with Joey this week?
No, I didn't get a chance.
Oh, it's bad.
So we had Joey in doing the Chris one, and he threw out a trash card at least twice. Unprompted. I thought that was pretty good. I like that.
No, I was wearing my trash card shirt the other day at the shop, and I harass people hard. I love EDH and all that, but they come up with like these mile-long lists, and I look at them and I'm like, why are you playing a peasant format? And so the shop owner's like, you should really change your slogan to that.
Peasant
I'm like,
format. Why are you playing a peasant format?
yeah,
I
and I'm
that.
like, I don't say that enough on air, so I'm gonna start saying that too.
That's your new one.
EDH peasant format. Okay, we'll get it mocked up. We'll get it drawn.
Oh, good times. All right. So onward.
Onward.
All right. So let's just get down to the nitty gritty.
For sure.
Magic Fest, Las Vegas, 2019.
We weren't there.
I was gonna say, did I screw that one up at all? I had to think back there for a minute.
Did I say Los Angeles?
So let's start out with the overall feel that you received when entering the venue.
It's giant. So if you haven't been to Vegas, it is twice the size of most GPs.
Yeah.
You've been to Minneapolis recently. It's at least twice that
It's
size.
easily
really?
twice the size of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
It's it's the largest,
Yeah,
I would have to say.
I mean, instead of there being 4 artists signing things, there's
A dozen.
a dozen or more. Instead of there being a half a dozen vendors, there's
18, 20.
or more. Right. I mean, it's huge. The command zone area itself, that was just for commander players, was bigger than most actual GPs. There was more than 1,000 people signed up for that. That's bigger than most main events, or at least a lot of main events.
True. So now we all went to Madison.
Yep.
I played in the main event. You guys were playing casual on the side events. Was this GP set up better for the casual players? Because I know you guys had issues of getting moved all the time.
Specifically for Commander, the command zone buying that pass was the best money I spent for GP Vegas, guaranteeing you can walk through the little doorway to it and you have hundreds of tables to just sit at and you never have to worry about getting moved.
Really?
And it wasn't even just like rows of tables like you're used to for a main event. It was individual tables with a space in between them, so you weren't sitting next to people that weren't in your pod. You were sitting in your pod, there was a space for the next table, so it was individual tables, and there was
12 by 20.
Hundreds of them. And there were judges in the roped-off area for the command zone, too. Judges walking through, multiple judges as well.
Did you guys stump any of them? Like we did in Madison?
No, we didn't. I think any judge question I had that were ones I knew answers to, but it was also a situation where, like, if you had a judge question, you could just raise your hand and wave, and they would be over at your table in like, it was a fast response time, too. It wasn't like it was one judge you were trying to, like, track down. There were multiple judges in there working, and even if you weren't, like, vying for judge attention, they would just, like, come over and watch your games and stuff. That was really slick.
Now, you think maybe this could be something going forward?
I think
they will be.
They've announced starting in
Montreal, I think.
Montreal, which is in October, I want to say. There will be like this command zone area at every GP.
Oh, well, I really like that because I know you guys, when we went to Madison, you guys had a hard time because one judge would be like, over in these table numbers. You got to sit there for like 20 minutes and then get moved somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
now you have to pay for it. I guess some people don't like that, but like, I think that seems fair if you're going to have judge support and you're going to have a nice environment. And they also had
CFB people in there.
Yeah, so people were coming in and out, and it was just exactly what I think you would want.
Awesome.
And there was also big banners, so like casual over here and competitive for CEDH players over here. So like you didn't even have to really worry too much about
where you're sitting.
Where you were sitting, like the CEDH guys, Spike Feeders and Lab Maniacs and stuff were all over kind of in the CEDH area. And people still had the discussion about like deck power level, what are you playing? But like for the most part, there wasn't a problem with that because people playing the real hardcore decks were playing each other in that one area, and people that weren't. So
now, how did you guys do pod setups? Like, was it just randomly you found a third or fourth person and jump in,
and you found them fast?
Okay.
People were like, they also had table tents on the tables in the casual or competitive half that said, "I'm looking for casual. I'm looking for competitive." So maybe we were in the casual side, but we all have a competitive deck. We could grab one of those table tents and hold it up. You had people raising their hand, yelling, anybody looking for a game. Like, constantly people were saying, we need a fourth, we need a third.
And, like, if you were standing around watching someone play for any amount of time at all, people would be like, hey, you looking for a game? Want to get a pod? So, there, I mean, it was...
That's awesome.
There was, not, like, if the only time you weren't in a pod is if you actively were not looking to play. If you wanted to get in a game, you would find one in minutes at most.
So, you guys discussed price. Is this an affordable thing for people?
What did it wind up being? $69 for the 4-day pass?
Because we pre-ordered.
For a 4-day pass.
Because we pre-ordered early.
Yeah.
If you got there, let's say on Thursday, and wanted to buy the 4-day pass, I think it was over $100.
That's still not bad because, like, when I go to an event, it's $70 to $100 for entry fees. So.
I mean,
but you also got that the foil promo Soul Ring,
yes,
which at least for the first couple days, some vendors were buying for $100 and some bucks. So you were actually technically coming out ahead.
Yep.
And even the last day, there were still one or two that were buying it for like 60-ish. So even on day 4, you were still kind of breaking even just in that card.
Well, that's awesome.
I do know they were selling individual day passes. So let's say you were only there for Friday or Saturday. Those were $50.
Okay. Well, that's still not bad. I mean, overall, to actually have a guaranteed place to play, guaranteed amount of people there that were looking to play. And
I mean, listen, not paying money is always great. But like, I think it was for what we got for the experience, it was worth the money I paid. Absolutely.
Yep. I personally think that going forward, this will be wonderful.
Yeah.
Because it allows Channel Fireball to run the events now. Because you're paying them, so they're going to set stuff aside for you. You're guaranteed stuff instead of just walking in.
Because the reality is, they have to rent that big exposition center, that big huge hall. They have to justify that space somehow, and
they have to pay their 100 judges that are on staff.
Like everyone's getting paid. It all like. There needs to be some kind of kickback for them, and maybe that price is too much. If someone wants to argue that, I'll listen. But I'm okay with paying something to have a space set aside with tables and chairs like that where I don't have to get bumped and there's judges coming through.
Yeah, honestly, if I saw judges there when I'm playing Commander, I would look at it as I'm paying their wage.
Yeah.
I'm not paying Channel Fireball, I'm paying for these judges to be here.
I would say the only thing, and this I saw got mentioned on Twitter that I would like would be a table numbering system on the tables, just so like you could tell your friends, hey, I'm over on table 622 or something, and so they can find you.
A lot of
big flashy hats. That's what we need.
Right, yeah.
A lot of the time in our Slack, I'd be like, I'm in the command zone. I'm 8 rows back as far as you can go in the casual section. And that's the best description I could give.
Right.
Next to I'm in my gray Mighty Ducks hat and a Commander Central shirt. So table numbers were actually a really good idea to suggest.
But like other than that, it was
Perfect.
It was perfect.
I'm interested to see what they're going to charge / how big each of these command zones are going to be at these smaller GPs.
Yeah.
Like, Minneapolis will probably have one next year if they keep doing it, but how big is it really going to be, and how much are they going to charge you? Because that's only a 3-day GP.
Right. Although they can flex that a little bit. Like if they do the pre-orders and they're like, okay,
Right.
we got 200 pre-orders in Minneapolis alone. We need to make that. We need to set it up for assume at least then 300 and some people. So
Right.
There is some flexibility I think there, but yeah, it was a nice setup, and I'm glad they did it. So.
Well, I'm glad everything worked out for you guys. So, let's move on. We're going to talk about this wonderful thing you guys did called the rotisserie draft.
Yeah.
There was some collusion. Major collusion.
All I got to say is Grafdigger's Cage reads that...
And you shouldn't bury it alive right before someone plays a Bachuka Bog.
So, Dana, what did you play?
I played Marchesa the Black Rose, and it was supposed to be basically a modular deck. I was building around modular with the theory that I can sacrifice something every turn, put the counters on the other modular creature, and kind of go back and forth and make a giant, huge creature for an Alpha Strike.
Okay. And how did it perform?
When I got it to work in play testing or even like in a game outside of that, it worked well. Overall, number one, there's too many moving pieces. You need to have a sack outlet, you need to have Marchesa, you need to have 2 modular creatures.
Okay.
That's too big of an ask for the most part, particularly in a rotisserie format where there's less available cards because they get drafted. So there's less draw, there's less filtering, there's just less ways to get down to those pieces. And there's only like 20 modular creatures anyway, and 17 of them are terrible. So... my idea was flawed.
They are terrible.
I think it's a cool concept. I think if we went back to Mirrodin at some point and got another dozen modular creatures, 3 or 4, which would be good, you could make that concept work. It just didn't quite work the way I had hoped. It just wasn't deep enough. The other thing I would say that went wrong with the deck was, again, because resources are limited, there's less draw and stuff. I think you want a commander that generates value all on its own. So like Yarok just generates value by being out there, and it doubles up your creature's power.
Yeah, it does.
And I didn't have that. I mean, you kind of do with Marchesa if you build her differently. If I would have built her just as a recursion deck, so I would play something like Secure Tribe Elder, put a counter on it, sack it to play it again.
Yep.
But I didn't do that. I was really leaning into the modular thing just to kind of come up with something weird. And so I fell behind for that too. I also didn't play the deck with that in mind, because early on I had a pretty good hand. I had a bunch of removal, but I blew too much. I played like I was playing regular Commander, where I would replenish my resources quickly, and I wasn't able to replenish them because, again, there's less ways to do that. So I also played more aggressively than I should have, I think. So.
Okay. So now, going forward, if this happens again, is there anything you do different?
I mean, it's supposed to be fun. I don't know, could I have drafted a more traditional Marchesa deck? Yes. Or could I have gone with something that's just guaranteed value, like Yarok or whatever? For sure. Would I again? I don't know. Part of the fun of this is it's a deck you're only going to play a few times, probably. So why not try to do something wacky? So I don't know.
Okay.
I would probably once again try to do something weird just for the fun of it. I would guess. Knowing me, that's what I would still do. Even having learned those lessons, I would ignore them and still do the same
And we
thing.
won't eat for 22 hours also.
Right,
so.
probably.
So I'm going to ask you the same questions. What did you play?
I built Anafenza, Abza, and tokens.
Didn't you draft both Redmond Krav and
There's
all that?
a life gain sub-theme in there, too.
All right. So I literally thought that's the route that you were going to go, was Redmond Krav or something in there. So how did your deck perform?
Terrible.
Right straight to the point.
Yep.
I ran 38 lands and saw 5 of them after taking 2 mulligans.
You know, I can take you to a wonderful thing called shuffling class.
I
Well,
did.
Max's deck looked great on paper. I knew my limitations going in with my deck. I liked Max's a lot, but you just had bad luck.
I did have bad luck. The table took it easy on me until I started getting a board presence, and then They took myself and Brando from CCO out in one fall swoop.
I heard Dana was the first one taken out.
Yes.
I was, yep.
So it wasn't me.
They gunned for the threat first. Why not? It makes sense.
See, now, the story that I heard was that there was a Grafdigger's cage played, and Dana started talking gibberish, and that's why he got taken out first.
Because he knows the rules of the game.
And honestly, I didn't. I like to talk trash to CCO, but like I had to stop. It wasn't until I thought about it for a few seconds that I was like, I thought that was. Did I grab the Grafdigger's cage and read it? And I'm like, oh no. So I would have missed it too. Actually, and the reason was, I think, because that was in standard at the same time as ground seal, and they both function slightly differently. Stuff can come into play off a ground seal. And I always mix up which does which.
Yep.
So I had to look at it again, too. It wasn't like I knew Ryan was screwing up with that Twilight's Call. But it was funny.
So, did you play the deck other than the horrible game that you
No.
had?
Nope,
Okay.
not at all.
I'm just
played the one
curious.
game?
Played it once. I'm going to keep it, though.
Okay, I was curious how it performed when it actually functioned. That's what I was
I'm
curious
keeping
about.
it. I'm going to keep it and tune it a little.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, now, if you were to do this again, is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah, I'd run 40 lands.
And then all he's going to do is draw lands.
Right.
Hey, that still means I'm doing something every turn.
Oh.
No, I loved this rotisserie draft I did. It was a lot of fun. I believe we're doing it again next year because I want that trophy.
He wants to go.
There's actually a trophy.
There was a golden goat trophy.
So who ended up winning?
Ryan Green from Commander Social. The people who set this up, might I add.
Oh, really?
Collusion.
You should have just taken. I gave you so much advice on what to do, and I think you would have just crushed the table if you would have followed my advice.
Mono green.
Yes, mono green.
What I think this particular deck, if you're going to keep it, actually, you will benefit from just having access to draw.
Right.
That got drafted away from you.
Yes.
It fix a lot of problems in that deck.
Well, he's too busy taking those scumbag cards. Like,
Yeah, right,
I was
right.
watching his draft, and he's all like, "Oh, Sanguine Bond." I'm like, "Oh, here we go."
Armageddon.
So, let's move on to a more of a free talk. I'm just going to open it up.
Sure.
You guys both just, jump in whenever you feel like it. So, describe this experience compared to last year.
Last year was way more chaotic in terms of finding games, and we had to move around a lot. And I think it was more difficult for people to find us to play games.
Yeah.
And we also got relegated to playing on the round tables by the food.
That's seat 12.
Which number one tend to get dirty. And number two, you can't tell what the person who's two people down, because the tables are so big, you can't see what's
Yep.
being played. It was just a way better experience in terms of location to play at, for one. I don't think much else was really different this year.
For the event itself, probably no. Having the command zone alone was a huge help.
Yeah.
It was right front and center. You walk in any doors, and that's what you saw. And it really separated it. I didn't really care to go walk through the main event or go see all these side events. It was command zone and vendors. That's where I was.
And I would say that maybe that is the difference because of the way it was functioned last year, and it was trickier to find games.
Yeah.
I would then take more breaks and just go say, okay, well, there's no one playing right now. There's nothing available. I'm just going to go talk to artists and get some signatures, or I'm going to go look at vendors more, or I'm going to go. I watched at least part of 2 different panels last year. I watched none of the panels this year just because if I wanted to play games, I could play games, and I wound up just playing games most of the time.
Okay.
So that was, I think, the main difference because the way the command zone functioned, maybe it kept me from wandering around and doing a few more other things. I didn't play side events either because there was just always games there.
Yeah. And the fact that we could use our commander free, the stuff we got with the command zone, the free on-demand pods, in the command zone was perfect.
Yeah.
You could literally raise your hand, call judge, and we're like, we want to cash these in. He goes, okay, give me your tickets, and you guys can play right here.
Very nice.
And they would also, they must have had some random pods like that going with, because like Josh Kwai was in a couple of those
Yep.
pay pods at different times. So I think they just randomly seeded those pay pods where like if you got into one of them, you would just find yourself in a pod with somebody who was famous.
Now, were these more CDH pods, I'm assuming?
No, I don't think so. I think those were all pretty laid back.
They're all pretty laid back, yeah.
Okay.
I think the Rule Zero talk existed no matter where you sat in that area.
Almost every game I sat in on the conversation began with what power level are we playing at or what speed are we playing at.
Just so everyone's pretty much
Yep.
equal,
Yeah.
and then it comes down to play skill.
And I don't think I had a game where people weren't honest about it or where there was a
Nope.
discrepancy in power level. I know Cam, our listener from Canada, Cam had one game where a guy was kind of dishonest about he was playing a Talran deck, but it was kind of basically the Chain Veil Teferi deck minus Teferi and Chain Veil, so it was just like Stasis and Omniscience.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that guy kind of wasn't truthful about his power level because he kicked off and won on turn like 4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
And he said it wasn't it was just a casual deck, and it clearly wasn't. But like that was the one story I heard, and other than that, I think everyone was playing on the same page. I never felt like I was above or below anyone I was playing against in terms of power.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think every one of my games was what power level, or it came down to the point where when we played with listeners, hey, can I play against Dramoka? Hey, can I play against Redmond Krav? More people asked to play against one of my decks versus me picking a deck.
Interesting. So, last year, I do believe this was last year, correct me if I'm wrong, did you guys not go to a local game shop?
We did go last
year. We
year.
went to, I think, Dark Side Games?
Yes.
We didn't do that this year
Okay.
just because last year it was just Max and I that were there early.
Until Thursday,
whereas we had people that were there early, so we just played with them.
Okay.
We'd actually talked about going to a shop, and we just never, because we just
Yeah.
had people to play with in our rooms and stuff and things to do. I liked being on Fremont a little more than being on the Strip
Yes.
beforehand, just because it's a little more casual. The Strip is just intense, and it's fine, but like it got to be a little much after a while, and like going outside and going for a walk on the Strip is fun to do once.
yes.
And after that, it's just so many people and it's so busy.
Okay.
Whereas, I mean, there's people on Fremont, but it's less than the Strip.
Yes, it's less than the Strip, a different type of crazy, though.
It's still insane. It's still like post-apocalyptic, the Road Warrior.
Oh, really?
Mad
Yeah.
Max, but it's a little bit less intense. So,
Interesting.
so we didn't go to a shop. We just played in our rooms and hung around.
All right. So, how many decks did you guys end up bringing?
I brought 6 total, counting my rotisserie draft deck.
Okay.
And Mogis would have been the 5th.
Yep.
I brought 10, 11 with rotisserie deck.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't take them like I locked them in my suitcase, and I would only ever carry when I went to the actual event. I only brought
4
or 5 at most.
Okay, now did you guys get to play all your decks?
I didn't. I brought my Edric deck, and I didn't
Oh,
play
yeah, I
it
forgot
at all.
about that one. That cheesy deck.
Because at some point I meant to go play with the CEH guys at least for a game or two, and I just didn't, just because, again, whenever, like, I was thinking in terms of last year where I would have downtime to just wander over, and I didn't. Whenever I would like not have a game, I'd stand up and finish, and someone else would want to play a game. It's like I just never even left the place where we were playing, the area we were playing, really.
Yeah.
So I didn't play my Edric deck, but I think I played the rest of them all at least once.
Okay.
I played all my decks, including Mogis, multiple times. Mogis is fun.
It is very fun.
It's very fun.
It needs to be tweaked hard, but it's a very fun deck. So, now, since you guys got to play pretty much all your decks, did you guys see anything that you guys want to change in your decks now that you play X amount of games?
It really became apparent to me how I don't have ways to win games in Glissa.
We've been telling you that
I know.
years.
Not that I haven't talked about it before, but like it really became apparent. So the first thing I did when I got home was, number one, I no longer have decks. I'm no longer running anything that has overwhelming stampede or overrun anyway.
Okay.
So I might as well put them in that Glissa deck then.
Yep.
I'm not using them anywhere else for the most part, so I can put them both in that deck, and particularly because my stuff is Death Touch, it works even better there because I only need to put 1 point of damage in, and then the rest tramples
Yep.
over. So I put those 2 back in, and I think I'm going to put in the finale of Devastation. Is that the green one?
Yes.
That functions as an overrun if you do it for 10 or more, too. So I'm going to add that in as a third way to actually win, because it actually does somewhat synergize. Those will all synergize with Death Touch creatures, so that'll give me a win condition there. So that was the first thing. Whenever I played that Glissa deck, I was able to grind out games and stay in it forever, but couldn't put them away. Two different times I came down to thinking I had the Revel and Riches win, and someone blew it up. And I'm like, man, that can't be my only hope is Revel and Riches, and maybe have Heroic Intervention in hand to save it if I need to. So that was one for me. How about you, Max?
I added a couple mana rocks to Redmond Krav just because back home I was having really slow starts or just inconsistent turns, so I cut a couple of the low-costing creatures, threw a couple mana rocks in, and it performed way better last week.
Awesome.
So I made that change, I think, the day of GP Vegas.
So, how many games did you guys play overall now? I know last year, weren't you shooting for 100, Dana, or something like that?
I was trying to get 50 in the week.
Okay.
I got in 58 in the 4 days of the GP itself.
Oh, Lord.
I believe it was.
I thought that number was counting the first half of the week.
That wasn't counting the first half of the week. So I didn't hit 100, but I hit probably.
You're in 90s.
In the upper 80s or 90s. I didn't count the rest of them, but yeah.
Because we played at least 30 in the hotel room between
Probably,
Monday,
yeah.
Tuesday, and Wednesday. We did 30 games.
And those broke down, and Max wound up being one ahead. It's actually almost a perfect split for wins, but Max was behind, actually, by one game, and won the last 2 we played. So he pulled ahead.
Yep.
Very good. I'm very proud of you,
Thank
young
you.
Padawan.
Dramoka won quite a few.
Did it?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm very happy to hear that.
I think at the GP itself, I played close to 30 games.
30 games.
Yeah, in 4 days.
Now, did you guys feel burned out afterwards?
Yes.
By the end of the day, it's a lot, but it's not just the games. I mean, the games also because you're paying attention closely. But so that's similar to playing in like a tournament or something. But it's also Vegas. It's loud and it's bright, and there's a lot going on around you, and a gazillion people you haven't met before that are like saying hi, and the combination of all of those things. It's just tiring by the end. I would sleep. We'd get back to the room. We'd play games at night in the room too.
We'd play till like 2 in the morning,
like midnight. And you'd go to sleep and not move. I'd lay down in bed and get up in the morning. I didn't move all night long. I laid still in my sleep for the last 8 hours. Then everyone we'd get up and take a shower and go back and play. We didn't go have breakfast most mornings.
Nope.
We just went back to the GP and started playing again.
I probably would have started drinking before the end of the week, to be honest with you.
I started the week that way.
We did, yeah.
So, big question. Danny, you'd brought this up to me earlier when we were discussing stuff. So, all these games, you said you had close to 90, Max had quite a few. Did you notice anything in the meta that was awfully different than what we're used to seeing?
I mentioned this briefly on the short shows we did at Vegas, but one thing that really jumped out at me, one of the things I found myself doing was playing with groups of friends that played together. So I was sitting in on someone else's meta, kind of.
Yep.
In part because of how the command zone worked, you had groups of friends that were coming there together, sitting at a table together, looking for a fourth or looking for us in specific, whatever it was. So I sat in multiple other metas, even with 3 or 4 CCO players or something. And I had never really thought about this before until I kind of started observing it. It seems like there are some metas where the group as a whole has agreed to, whether it's conscious or unconscious, swing at the weakest player versus the strongest player.
Interesting.
I hadn't thought about it before, but in our shop where we play almost universally in a commander pod, everyone just focuses the strong player. The person who comes out fastest with that soul ring into Signet, into something else, makes themselves a target. Or that token deck who on turn 5 drops Mari's Wake and Doubling Season, everyone's focused on them. Obviously, if there's a huge threat, people hit it, but I did notice there were some groups of friends that just instinctively hit the weak player. And everyone doubles down on taking out that weak player. A lot of times at our pod, you'll see that where someone takes the lead and everyone knocks out their creatures or whatever their enchantments are, hits them for 10. Next time around the board, everyone refocuses and hits somebody else who's now currently the leader.
Yep.
There were some pods that didn't happen. That person who got hit and lost their stuff then got hit again and again, and they were out. So there were groups, I think, where that's the way the meta plays. They take out that weak link until they're gone and then switch to somebody else.
Now, did this lead to faster games, maybe?
I don't know. I didn't think it led to faster. I mean, obviously somebody gets knocked out sooner.
Yep.
I don't know if the games itself were faster. It was just, and I don't think it's a worse strategy necessarily. It was just different than what I was used to. I was thinking about it. We talked about it in Slack a little bit. I wonder if that isn't a thing that happens in metas where combo wins are more frequent. We don't see a lot of Deadeye Navigator, Palancron kind of combo wins. I mean, Max is a scumbag. He plays Blood Bond.
Yeah.
But you see that coming.
But you see that coming, right. So I wonder if in a meta where people aren't playing, Kiki, Jiki, conscripts kind of combos frequently, I wonder if the thought process there isn't, if one person's out, that's one less opponent you have to worry about doing a combo out of nowhere. Okay. Whereas in our meta, for the most part, if that person's weak and has no resources, they're not going to be probably killing you on the next turn. So you can focus on the strong player who is. That's just a theory. I don't know if that's the case, but it's definitely something I noticed in sitting in, a dozen different groups of other players that are all friends that kind of play the same way. Was some groups attack the strongest and some attack the weakest, and it seems like it's a trend among that group.
Okay, I've noticed that before, though. if you let the weak player go,
They can for sure come back.
I want to
nowhere.
say at least 60% of the time I see them end up winning the game.
They can absolutely come back and win.
Yep.
So, but also you let the strong player go.
True.
I don't know if that's. We noticed that because we play in a meta where everyone lets the weak player sit there and you take out the strong player. So I wonder if the reverse doesn't happen, that strong player can run away with the game more frequently in the meta where they ignore them too. So I don't. It was just an interesting observation. I don't think it's wrong or right. I haven't had a lot of chance to process it, but it really jumped out at me, particularly because the command zone set up groups of friends playing together with like a random fourth player.
No, is this what happened to you? Were you the weak player and they're like, nuke them?
I don't know. I think I probably was in at least one game, but like regularly it was, because I thought about that too. I'm like, was it because I was the strange player? And that wasn't the case. A lot of times they'd bump out their friend because he would have a bad draw and like miss his land drop on turn 3, and everyone's like, oh, we smell blood, and they turn in that player.
So, Max, did you notice anything?
Yeah, I ran into a lot of creature-based decks, like tons of creatures in a deck and just a few other spells that may be synergized by making their creatures bigger, or maybe like a doubling season. I didn't run into a lot of combo decks. It was more creature.
I didn't
people would
either.
just keep dropping creatures. It was interesting.
So more of a permanent base deck.
Yeah.
So did that lead to a lack of removal then?
Yes, the removal I saw most of the weekend was mass removal versus targeted removal, where our meta is very heavy on more targeted removal with a couple board wipes. This was 3 people all had multiple board wipes in their hand, and someone would cast one, and we'd all rebuild, and someone would cast another. And
I do find that interesting because if you're playing a creature-heavy deck or permanent-heavy deck, you don't want wipes as much. You'd rather have targeted stuff because your creatures can take care of the other things.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would
Very
say I would agree with that. I did see a few more board wipes on average than I'm used to in a game, and less targeted removal for sure, I felt like.
I only saw like 3 rifts, too.
Yeah, I didn't see that many. I mean, I saw a few, but like...
Well, I'm sure they were out there.
Yeah,
I mean-
I would guess they were too.
Unless people are listening to me. If you are, thank you.
I mean, Cam casted one just so he could combo off on us.
Yes.
Oh, he comboed on you, did
Yeah.
he?
Eldrazi Displacer and Thought Not Seer
Oh,
yeah.
yes!
with
Yes!
infinite mana.
Yeah.
Oh!
But again, that was like
A man after my
An
own
hour
heart.
and a half into the
Yeah, that
game.
was a long game where plenty had happened. It wasn't a big deal.
Brago had been killed like 8 times.
That's where
Overall,
Brago belongs, is in the command
yeah,
zone.
right. One thing I would say, generally speaking, I still don't think people run enough land removal lands. Not that I didn't see a few strip mine, like I saw a few. I did not see enough. There were a lot of games where I was the person that was dealing with that Cabal Coffers, because most of my decks have 2, if not 3 land removal lands. And there were a lot of times when people, I just know they would then say like, oh, good thing you got that because I don't have a way to deal with lands. And strip mine's $20-some now, I get that, but like Ghost Quarter and Tectonic Edge,
Field of Ruin.
Field of Ruins, those are all $3 or $4-ish cards, if not less. Like there's answers out there, and if you let that person have Cabal Coffers, the mono black player with Cabal Coffers or Cabal Stronghold, or even a 2-color deck with Urborg out, or Nykthos tapping for 8, let alone Sarah Angel or Guy's Cradle or a flipped one of those Ixalan lands, you're going to lose.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's an easy problem to solve by just putting in a couple of those land removal lands.
Like Armageddon. Oh, land, sorry.
But yeah, I think people generally don't run enough of those land removal answers in their decks. I think you need to have a couple.
Yep. My suggestion to people with that is run Field of Ruin.
Yeah.
Especially if you feel like you're being a scumbag like Max and destroying someone's land with yours. Field of Ruin replaces your land and their land.
Yeah.
And if they're not playing enough basics, shame on them.
Yes.
Right. I did see, this was funny, the first time I saw someone kind of be forced to name me as a friend on Pier's whim.
Oh.
Because I had lignified, the only enchantment or artifact I had out was lignified, and I had lignified, I think it was a Derevi. So it was stuck there doing nothing, and the person, I can't remember who it was, cast Pier's whim, and like, and looked like, what do you have for artifacts enchantments? I'm like, just that lignified. I was just like, son of a, I guess you're my friend. Ugh. So I got to go get a land, because like, it was better to give me a land than it was to remove that lignify off the
Well,
Derevi.
I'm very happy that person was paying attention to the board state.
Right? Ooh.
So that was kind of funny. I'd never really encountered that before, where someone felt they were forced to name me their friend. Now, I also didn't see a ton of overlap commanders. I went through my list. There were 2 different people that played Queen Marchesa.
Okay.
I saw 2 Kravs, but not a Regna. You had Redmond Krav, and I think it was Dan Krause.
Dan Krause has Krav.
Had a solo Krav deck, so I saw 2 different Kravs. I saw 3 Lord Windgrace decks.
Yep.
I saw 2 Ramos decks. I saw 2 Grenzo Havoc Razor decks. One was Don Miners.
I was going to say Don has one, right?
I saw one other one. And I saw 2 Sigarda decks, mine and I think it was Andy at Architect, but it might have been Michael. One of those 2 had a Sigarda deck. So other than that, I had no overlap among commanders I saw out there at all.
I saw a couple Hapatra decks, one being a rotisserie draft, and I played against listener Philip, who had one. I ran into a Yorkiro Tiger Claw deck. That was that was his son, and he almost killed us all on like turn 8.
Get some!
Otherwise, yeah, I didn't see a lot of repeats.
Yeah.
Or if I had played with the person before, they just played a different deck.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool, seeing just a good variety stuff there.
I never sat in a pod either where there were multiples.
Really?
Yeah.
I sat in one pod with 2 Gontis.
Okay.
So I missed it on my list. There was 2 Gontis in it as well, too.
That must have been an interesting game. Not really.
They at least had different sleeves. We comment on that first. Everyone had different sleeves, so that worked out okay.
Oh, wow.
I think I saw less Planeswalkers than we saw at Kansas City and at Madison.
Yeah, I did not see a lot of Planeswalkers at all, really.
So I think people...
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think people jammed a bunch of them after War of the Spark, and now they've been... What I would guess has happened is as more cards have came out, both in Modern Horizons and the core set, it's been like, well, this, Narset was fun, but I'm going to replace it with... It's an easy maybe swap then, replace it with another new card, because it's a new card. I don't know, but I did see less Planeswalkers than I was kind of ready for. And I don't think I saw a single Super Friends deck.
I saw one, but I couldn't tell you who it was.
Yeah, so I was expecting to see more of those, but I
guess Ryan Green has his Jaya Ballard deck, which is just mono red Super Friends.
Which is mostly Chandra's, yeah.
And the other Jaya.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Is there even enough Chandra?
No.
I was going to say,
there's like...
kudos to you. But.
Including the bad ones, and we also got 3 in the core set. I'm sure there's 10 to 11.
10 to 12, yeah.
But the early ones are all bad, and obviously those starter deck ones are bad. So there's, But hey, I like a good theme deck, so I can respect that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just leave this wide open for anything that you guys want to talk about.
What do you think, Max?
I went to a wedding.
Oh, did you?
I missed the wedding.
You missed the wedding. Yeah, so
well, congratulations to whomever got married.
Rebecca and Ashid, they are part of CCO Nation.
Okay.
So they arranged it with Channel Fireball Events. They got to go into the chapel at the convention center, which was just a room, and Ryan made sure we were all there. And there were about 18 chairs, and there was not room for standing room. We packed that little room filled with everybody.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I was in one of the wedding photos because we were part of CCO Nation. That makes me salt in my mouth a little, but whatever.
Are you sure it's not cheese?
Right. Well, I will mention the CCO story briefly. They told it on their show, but we went back to their Airbnb, which was an apartment in an apartment complex. And we had just started playing, and the door, this was Wednesday night, I believe?
Wednesday night,
and the door opens, and like 5 women walk in. They're like, hello? What's going on?
Party time.
And they had, they had double booked. Well, not even double booked. What it was the, and you could see it in the sign. It said, like, welcome Lemmy, Lemi. And their friend Lenny had rented the room. So they just assumed it was, they wrote the name down wrong.
Yep.
Well, it wasn't. They just gave Lenny the Lemmy room. There was a Lenny room upstairs that was intended for the CCO people, but they somehow screwed up and gave them the keys to get into the Lemmy room. So these ladies showed up, and they're like a bunch of magic dorks playing EDH on a Wednesday night.
So in 15 minutes, we packed up all of their stuff, all 8 people's stuff, and we're okay. What do? We have to go find the key. So that was a scavenger hunt.
Okay.
20 minutes later, we finally get into the penthouse.
Wow.
So moved everything up there, and then played a few more games up there before the end of the night. So
that had to be awkward.
It could have been way worse, and the girls were very nice. A couple of whom were from Canada, so they were discussing
Canada things
with the Canadians. So it wasn't like weird or awkward or anything.
No.
But and we recovered quickly. That could have easily been like, well, you guys have no place to stay for the next 2 hours until we get a key, and it got squared away pretty fast. But it was, of course, an
adventure.
An adventure for sure. So. that was our Wednesday night interesting thing that happened. I went and saw. So I think I told this story last year. I went and got a Bajuka Bug altered by Howard Lyon, and he does like an airbrush alter. So he kind of airbrushed it in and then signed it like a shadow signature. And that was a card I dropped.
I was going
like,
to say, was that the one that you dropped?
Yeah. And it's been bugging me forever, too. So I'm like, well, Howard Lyon's there. I'm like, I'll see if he can just, like, redo the signature on it. So I waited in line and got up to him and I explained what happened. He's like, yeah, I can fix that. It'll take me a minute. So he just, like, did a signature over. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. I'm like, what do you owe? He's like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not going to let you do it for free. So I just gave him his regular signature fee to have him touch it up. And then I had him sign something else as well. So I got a couple those cards by him. I got an original, and it was I had a revised Soul Ring on me, and so I got it signed by Mark Tedden. Trying to think what else I got. I think I had at least 3 signatures I got done.
Okay.
I know you were a big spender, too.
I picked up a Volcanic Island, and I picked up a foil memory jar for Mirza's block. The Volcanic Island I bought from somebody.
Oh, really?
And that's how Dana got kicked out of Magic Fest Vegas.
So I was going from vendor to vendor, like looking at their volcanic islands, like, you know. And as I'm doing that, there's a guy who's like sitting down right next to me trying to sell a volcanic island. Like it was just a coincidence. And they'd offer him, make him offer, like, yeah, no, that's not what I want. And the first time I was just like, oh, they should buy it and I'll buy it from them. I just in my head, but I'd go to the next vendor and he'd come and sit down. And like after the third one and he wasn't happy, I was just, after he walked away, I'm like, what would you take to sell that? And he's like, well, I was looking to get, you know, and I'm like, I'll buy that from you. So we walked out of the hall outside to where it was no longer in the place, and I bought it from him.
Nice.
Shady deals on Commander Central.
Right. We did that with Ryan a few times, too.
Right, yeah. And I also, my thought process then was, too, after 3 vendors looked at it, I wasn't worried about being a counterfeit or anything. So. And then I traded in I had an original Alliance's Force of Will, and I just traded that in to knock off like $80 off that memory jar, so I got that as well. So those are the 2 big pickups I had. I bought a couple small other cards, but I bought 2 Search for Azcantas just because I wanted them, and they're down to like $5-ish. So I grabbed 2 searches. I grabbed a couple other small things. The last fiery islet I needed for the playset of the Horizon Lands. Other than that, not much.
So I got 1 card signed, and that is my foil Stryonic Resonator. I got it signed by Noah Bradley.
Oh, nice.
My favorite artist, so that was good. I finally got to meet him. I picked up a Replenish for Tuvasa.
Oh, you did? I didn't know you got one.
Yes, I picked up a Replenish.
I saw you cast him. I guess I thought it was always in the deck.
Nope.
Okay.
That's a hard card to find.
It is. I also picked up a Exploration for it to play more lands, just to see how it goes.
Yeah, well,
We'll see what happens.
in worst case, it draws you a card.
Yep.
Worst case, it's 1 mana draw card.
Or it makes Tuvasa a 2/2 when I drop her on turn 2. I picked up a Beta Basalt Monolith
Okay.
for Brago.
Okay.
It's pretty.
Weren't you trying to get like a foil one of those? No, that was a
No,
Grim
they
Monolith.
don't make a foil
You were
one.
thinking of a Grim Monolith you were
Yeah.
trying to get in foil last year.
Yeah, I'm not paying for that anymore. I didn't, unless I win the Powerball. And then I also picked up a 4th promo to Fairies Protection.
Okay. Now, I know last year you guys were talking about the lines to get into like vendors and artists were annoyingly long. Was that the same this year?
Depends on what time of day you
Yeah.
went. It was a crapshoot. Like, there was one time I walked up there, and the first time I went up there, Howard Lyon's line was 25 people deep. And when I got under the signature, it was 3 people deep. It just depended on what time of day and what was going on. And I think he was there all 4 days, too. So I think by the time the 4th day rolled around on Sunday, most people had gotten their stuff done, whereas I think Noah Bradley was only there for a day or 2.
I had him sign my card on Saturday. So
I don't think he was there Thursday or Friday. I think he was only there Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Which makes sense. More people would be there on those 2 days, so why not have the big name artists there?
So I think his line was super long the whole time.
I had luck. I walked right up to him and
did you?
said,
Yeah.
"Hey, can you sign this?"
Sometimes you get that low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vendors weren't bad, in my opinion. I waited maybe 10 minutes in line at 95 MTG to sell a stack of like 150 cards and got my money and went shopping.
No, did you guys do the whole vendor scouting mission?
I didn't really, because there was only a couple cards. The cards I wanted were the Volcanic Island, which I looked for, and the Memory Jar. And there were 2 vendors that had a full Memory Jar. So like the things I wanted were for the most part, were so limited that I basically just had to find the vendors that had them and got them, and that was it.
Yeah, pretty much. I went to 95 to sell because they do cash. And then I kind of did the scouting. I checked out Moose Salute. I checked out 95, all the vendors that we hit at the other GPs we go to. But Vegas brings in all these odd and end vendors that sell like the weird all foreign card vendor or these weird accessories that haven't been seen for 10 years. They have stockpiles of them, so it's fun to look at those.
Okay.
But, I just shopped around and found what I wanted at the best price. Cool, you have 3 of the 5 things I need. I'm just going to buy them all here, whether it's I'm spending an extra couple bucks or not.
Okay.
I just wanted to get back and play.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I think in the past it was easier for us to have devoted a good amount of time to vendor hunting because you couldn't always find games right away. Because it was so easy to find games, I had a tough time. I just wanted to get back and play games.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are back safe and sound and alive, and because I don't think I could do this by myself. I could, but it would change every week. It'd be something else I'd be talking about. Any other final thoughts, parting thoughts?
Next year can't come fast enough.
It was a really good time. I'm ready to do it again. I've mostly recovered, and I'm ready to go again. Although now we have Indy, and this will air on Monday, so 5 days from when this airs, we'll be in Indianapolis.
Yep.
I will be there playing in the main event.
Yeah.
Team Modern. Modern. Greatest format ever.
And I'm really curious to see how that breaks down. There's a lot of good cards from Modern Horizons that make a difference in Modern, but Hogak, being Hogak, has held back a lot of things, and now we're kind of starting over.
Yep.
Like it's going to take probably several months for Modern to now again shake out after Hogak and Looting are banned.
Everyone on the team was discussing that, and I was like, go back about a year and a half. I'm like, I guarantee that's what the format's going to turn into.
Well, except for there's all these new cards from Horizons now that will change things too.
So it's going to be the same decks that they're going to start with.
It's going to be super cool.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to see where Modern goes in the next few weeks because of this.
So next year, if I can't make it, I've decided what I'm going to do.
All right. What's that?
I'm going to send you guys with a doll. And we're going to have my face on it. And that's what we'll do. So people will be like, oh, where's Chris? We'll be like, here he is.
Right here.
We'll record a voice clip or something.
The Mogis deck in front of it.
It's always, it's going to be one of those push button ones. You just push button and it goes, trash card. Trash card.
Peasant format. Or we could just do like the cardboard cutout.
There you go.
That'd be easier to pack.
Or you could just go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a lot of people. In my old age, I've been trying to avoid big groups of people, and I don't know why.
You'd have a blast.
It's a lot of fun. I wish I would have written down the names of everyone we talked to. We had so many people say such nice stuff to us. Just fans come up, hey man, can we find a game whenever you have a chance? And I tried to play with as many people as I could. I don't think there was anybody I didn't get a chance to play.
I'm sure I missed a few people, but the people that asked, I played with.
Yeah, so it was an amazingly good time. And once the schedule comes out for next year's GPs, we're going to figure out what we want to do, but we want to do even more. What did we do, 4 or 5? 5 this year?
We did 5 this year.
And we're going to do SCG Con, I think, for sure is on the list for next year.
And Vegas.
And Vegas, and we might try to do a Seattle or something, or an LA. We'll in addition to things that are local, going to be a busy 2020.
You guys are on your own if you go to California. I ain't going there.
Why?
A bunch of scary people there.
It could fall into the ocean at any time.
Yes.
I don't swim well.
I swim perfectly fine.
Okay, I'm riding on you.
Oh, so yeah, that's all that I have.
All right.
I'm good.
Well, that will wrap up episode 137 of Commander Central. Our podcast theme is Retro Future Dirty by Kevin MacLeod, licensed via Creative Commons. Our show was edited by Ken Peddle. You can find him on Twitter at LOAD3R. You can find me on Twitter at Dana Roach. You can find Max at CMVRCentral_Max. And you can find Chris at WiseSquishy1. We will be back on Thursday with another Deck Tech. Until then, I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.